Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first major chess event of 2023. It is Tata Steel. This is the tournament that occurs every January. It's got a master section featuring Magnus, featuring Ding Liren, and many of the other best players in the world. And there is a challenger section filled with a lot of young, hungry 2600s looking to be the next cream of the crop chess talent. This tournament is called the Wimbledon of Chess, which is very high praise. Of course, Wimbledon is the annual football tournament that is held in France, of course. And Wimbledon is has a long history, and the same with Tata Steel. It's been around for like 80, 90 years. And in this video, we are going to start with round one recaps. If you don't know, by the way, because you only got into chess recently, either through my TikToks or from, Wired or whatever, let me know in the comments, by the way, where you've recently gotten into chess, maybe Ludwig's chess boxing event. I really got my rise making recap videos, and I make recaps of major tournaments. If you'd like to follow along, there will be a link in the description to follow along. And right now, listen to me. Hey, listen up. Right now, we are celebrating the launch of my new Middle Games Masterclass. All right, 50 studies, nearly 200 exercises for you. All my courses are 50% off, and there are free samples. That's also in the description. Now, let's jump into this game. We have a Game of the Year contender. Now, we will cover Magnus's game in a moment. This already is the Game of the Year, potentially. Max Warmerdam from the Netherlands. Remember that name. That man is going to be a 2700. And Jurgis Pešach, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, gentleman from Slovakia. Folks, dear God, this game begins with e4. We have e5. Now, you don't think we're going to get, a Spanish off. How are you going to get a Game of the Year contender in a boring old Rui Lopez? Well, Pešach plays knight e7, so he's looking for a fight, all right? That is a very imbalanced and confrontational Spanish. The point is that you sabotage your own development, but at least if white takes this, black doesn't have to damage the pawn structure. White plays knight c3, now knight g6, and now bishop c4. I mean, it looks like white is rated 700, but sometimes the most brilliant chess games come out of chess games that look completely idiotic. Like, if I had a student rated anywhere between 0 and 1800, if that student played the move bishop c4 here, pending parental permission, I would probably smack them, because what are you doing, right? Like, what is that? I mean, you got to make forward progress somehow, like d3, castles. But Max has a plan, and also Max is 300 points higher rated than me, so I'm just going to shut up and listen. So bishop c5. Now it essentially looks like a symmetrical 4 knights. And what I mean by that is, imagine you had the following opening. You had knight c3, knight f6, bishop c4, bishop c5, right? Like, imagine this, except it's this. Like, it's a 4 knights position, except the knight is on g6. That's stupid looking. Why is the knight on g6? It doesn't put any central pressure, right? And now Max plays h4, going after the knight, and Jurgis plays h6, just not letting white play h5 and h6. Now knight d5. So clearly Max has something here. He's got some sort of way to throw his opponent off. I mean, black is undeveloping. Again, kids, really, if you're watching this right now, wear headphones or just like go away. The way these dudes are playing, black has made 7 moves and 3 of them were 1, 2, and 3. I mean, you might as well just finish the box now, right? Oh my God. So castles, and from this point forward, Max Warmerdam begins playing. I'm really sorry if I'm, not pronouncing his name the Dutch way. Dutch folks, y'all got complex names. Just, Verstappen and whatnot. Anyway, Scheveningen, like what the hell even is that? All right, so here Max plays knight g5. Knight g5 is the Trojan horse sacrifice. In chess, we have the Greek gift, and we also have the Trojan horse. The Trojan horse is an idea where you sacrifice a piece like this. It's also maybe the fishing pole. And the point is that now all that's happened is the H file has opened against the castled king. And as you see, the evaluation is showing M. Not because you're buying a BMW, but because queen h5 and queen h8 is just made. It's completely unstoppable. h7, h8, doesn't matter. Now, Jurgis doesn't blunder that. Knight takes d5, takes. And here black plays b5, which is the best move. Why is b5 the best move? If you take this exchange is good, about 8 times out of 10, the bishop for the knight is going to be better for the person getting the bishop. And if you take this pawn, which just looks absolutely free, then apparently if black just does this, black is very happy. Like, white can come back, but apparently just this little inclusion of moves is beneficial to black because black will develop faster. White goes here, black goes here, and now the sequence of brilliant moves begins, according to chess.com. Now, again, on a low depth, you might get more brilliant moves than not. I saw 5 brilliant moves when I watched this game on the chess.com/events page. So this is brilliant move number 1. Now, that might not look very brilliant. I'm going to label it just so, you know, Max feels good about himself. I know Max is probably a very serious chess contender, but let's all be honest with ourselves. All strong grandmasters are also Gotham Chess subscribers, and they have all tested the free samples on Chessly, like the Middle Games Masterclass. I'm just saying. So Max gets this. Max, feel good about this move. Now, black plays knight b7. He's trying to bring the knight into the game, and he would love to break this pawn out, move his pawn, move his queen, move his bishop. Now Max plays queen h5. According to the game review, Max was also credited with a brilliant move here. Now, black can play knight d6, okay? In the game, he plays d6, and now white plays this move d4, okay? So, busting open the center and also adding a bishop. So now he's got the 2 bishops here. This is really starting to smell a little weird. E takes d4, not just because chess players don't shower. And now castles, okay? F5, black is trying to shut down the bishop. Max now plays knight back to f3. He's like, all right, I've been a little bit shut down here. Pawn takes c3, and yeah, the violence now commences. Okay, we have bishop takes h6. Double exclam. Point is, you can take me. If you take me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check you first, so you go here, and now I check you again. This is very instructive. You don't just take the pawn, all right? You check the king into a check like this, king g8, and now white might play knight g5. Maybe white makes a draw, I'm not exactly sure, but bishop takes h6 was played. Now, c takes b2. So the pawn bulldozes the entire way over here, and the rook is hanging, right? Rook is hanging, white plays rook e1, and the bishop on h6 is still hanging. But now there's a difference. You cannot take. You cannot take because we do the exact same sequence, okay? Queen h8 and all this, but now I have a rook controlling the entire file. This is not good for black, and you lose. And in the game, Max decided that he wasn't finished, and he played bishop c3, which, by the way, is another brilliancy, sacrificing a full bishop with the intention of playing knight to g5. And after bishop c3, queen h6, Max Varmerdam sacrifices the queen! Because if you play queen takes h5, there is rook g7, king h8, and it's rook f7 and a bulldozer. All right, a bulldozer. By the way, rook f7 is bad manners. I'm just going to say this right now. Max, this is bad manners. He repeats moves once. He gives Peshak the hope and, you know, potential that he's going to repeat moves, and then he plays rook d7. And then he plays bishop takes f6, because here's the thing. If this had continued, Max Varmerdam would have taken everything. When I say I'm pretty sure in this position white can actually take everything, I am not exaggerating. White will literally take absolutely everything from black. That is not an exaggerate. That is called a windmill, okay? It is the most disrespectful tactic in all of chess. Instead, we have this, and Max Varmerdam wins the game of the day in absolutely violent fashion via checkmate. Early submission for game of the year. 5 brilliant moves in 30. That's 1 in 6. There is a chance that you will hang your queen once every 6 moves. He did it too, but he also got 5 brilliant moves and won the game by checkmate. Now, Peshak, credit to him, you know, allowed it. That's called, you know, respect for the game. He doesn't just resign. So Max Varmerdam, congratulations. You are early candidate for game of the year. Now, Magnus is also playing. We will cover Magnus's games, whether it's 1 move or 5 moves or 30 moves. Makes absolutely no difference. Magnus starts his campaign against Levon Aronian. This is the master section. Those gentlemen that we just saw were in the challengers. A Catalan. Magnus playing the Catalan is very unfair. And we have a main line. We have a position. Yes, you are seeing this correctly. The white queen goes to c2, to c4, to c2, to c1. Yes, it looks completely idiotic. Rules for thee, but not for me. All right, that's how the top players play chess. Now, this position had been reached many times before, and here normally black goes here. But actually, already at this point, we have a brand new game, And not in a good way, because, you know, white's entire idea here is to come forward and attack all this stuff, and knight e5, and knight d7 played by Levon, and Magnus plays knight e5. And when I saw this, literally, I saw this position, and I no disrespect whatsoever to Levon. It could have been Levon, it could have been anybody. And I basically was like, oh, Magnus is going to win. Like, I mean, not just because it's 0.9, it's just it's a Magnesian position. He's got queen c3. Like, look at black's rook. Passive, forcefully playing defense, you know? And here Magnus could have just stockpiled pressure with knight c5, but he decided to take the pawn, which works tactically because the queen cannot guard two knights at the same time. It can't hit both knights. The problem is that after bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes, black is fine. White's got a little bit of a nagging pressure. He's fighting the two pawns here with a very powerful bishop, whereas, I mean, black's bishop is just shooting fireworks, you know, into an open field. I don't know what that bishop is doing. And, you know, again, I also saw this position. I was like, all right, well, let's see Magnus. You know, he's gonna put pressure, and Levon, actually, to his credit, just played a great game. I mean, he created this barrier. It's very instructive how even with the bishop, it's important to create the right pawn blockade to prevent Magnus from making any progress. But Magnus tried. I mean, he got the rook in, queen and rook, very powerful, but the problem is just clutch counterplay from Levon, wins a pawn, doesn't care, like that looks terrifying, make no mistake, but in this position, a very clutch move by black. White's idea here is to play rook d8. Every move here loses for black except one. And that move is sacrificing the rook! But you don't always have to sacrifice the rook to win. Sometimes you can sacrifice the rook to make a draw. What is the point? If you play bishop takes, I go here, and yeah, I'm actually mating you first. So, matters, okay? I'm mating you before you can mate me. Queen f1, queen e1, etc., queen f2. Now, in the game, Magnus chose to ignore. The problem is I still have bishop e4, and you might ask yourself, what is the idea? The idea is that the king is just safe now. Like, the king is actually completely safe on g6, and black is winning. Why is black winning? Because white just has no attack. White is, you know, white's just down 2 pawns. So, in the game, we get queen f7, rook e1, counterplay still being created, and actually both kings are essentially both kings are on, like, death's row right now, and it's going to be a draw. Like, Magnus actually kind of has to make a draw, or else queen f1 is going to lead to some bad stuff, and the players make a draw. Yeah, slow start. You know, obviously Magnus had a pretty good position from the opening. He said in the interview afterward that he was unhappy, but he was looking to find his form. Couple of crazy things about Magnus playing in this event. For him to gain rating, Magnus has to play 13 games. He has to win 9 games. So Magnus has to finish 9 out of 13 to even gain rating, because everybody else is solo rated compared to Magnus, or he's too high rated. Which is, yeah, it's pretty wild. He's also the second oldest player in the field, only to Levon. Everyone else in the field is younger than Magnus. Pretty wild. He crusty. Now, we go back to the challengers section as we have Abhimanyu Mishra, who recently became the world's youngest chess grandmaster ever at the age of 12 and change. That was like a year or two ago. And he's playing against Eline Roybers. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. She is a talented young player from the Netherlands. So we have like a battle of, you know, who's going to be the younger chess prodigy superstar. We have a very, very balanced game early. White has 2 bishops. As you can see, this dark squared bishop actually points very powerfully over here. And Abhimanyu plays a nice kind of middle game. He takes on d5, and it's essentially what's called the hanging pawn structure against b and e. So what White wants to do is blockade these pawns and win them, chip at them somehow. So Abhimanyu plays bishop f3. But black here kind of starts retreating backwards. What black wants to do with the hanging pawns is maybe try to create some counterplay or rip open the center in a beneficial way. And Eline kind of does that. She's a very aggressive player. The problem is that when you're an aggressive player, sometimes somebody can just take the wind out of your sails by just trading the pieces off. And that's what happens here. Abhimanyu, very nice positional game, and he looks for a queen trade. And if black plays a queen trade, I talked about it, like hanging pawns for a reason. You trade enough pawns, trade enough pieces, those pawns are just, well, hanging. You know where you can learn more about pawn structures? Middle Games Masterclass, 50% off right now. I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. Eileen goes here. Problem is, there goes one pawn. And she gets one back. But he's still going for a damn queen trade. I mean, again, one of the pawns is gone, which means that this position is a hanging pawn, is a isolated pawn position. Bishop is stuck. White is going to go here. Very, very bad stuff here. Abimanyu really showing high class. He really gets that queen trade. Bishop d4, beautiful blockade, and just suffocating. Excellent positional play. Trades rooks. Abimanyu won this game by trading pieces. Like, it's actually spectacular stuff. Really, really high-level stuff here from Abimanyu. Like, I highly recommend going through this game just one more time. Piece trading and, you know, when to exchange pieces. Chapter 9, I believe, of Middle Games course. Just saying, don't shoot the messenger. Really expertly done. Knight e5, and then these pawns, and then making sure the queens come off, and just not letting a player that wants to roll downhill super fast, So, very nice win from him. And now the next two games are very fun. So, first things first, I got super hyped when I saw this. Ricard Rapport played a Vienna. And not only did he play a Vienna against Nodirbek Abdusattorov, he played the Vienna Gambit. I was like, wait a minute. Now I got another promo. And not only did he play the Vienna Gambit, this is a classical game of chess. He also played my line, Queen F3. I was like, no way. Now, I did not invent the Vienna. I certainly popularized it over the last few years, especially this move Queen F3 to put pressure on this. Now, I'm going to say something right now. The Vienna is fantastic for basically every single one of you watching right now. You are going to win 60% of your games with this. The problem with the Vienna at the Super GM level is they know everything. So the Vienna is an opening where black can equalize, absolutely, and get a slightly better position if they know about 15, 20 moves, all right? Now, what does white still have? Very good attacking chances. And you're not a Super GM. You are not playing in Tata Steel. You are watching these guys play at Tata Steel. You're going to crush people. Like, there's levels to the chess thing, all right? You don't have to learn the Najdorf because Sicilian, like all of these guys do, because nobody plays that. Now, F5 is one of the best moves. D3. And the craziest thing about this game was that literally I have had this exact position on the board probably about 20 times in Blitz. And C4 is the best move. And after Bishop B4, the best move is King D1. Now, I remember recently I have analyzed that King F2 is also possible. So, King F2 and King D1 are both possible. This is all in my course. Remember that course, the Middle Games course? Well, yeah, the one right next to it is also on Chessly. Now, Rapport plays King D1, and I think after Queen D7, Rook B1, and long castles, he was doing quite well. Like, he was doing quite okay. In fact, in this position, if you look at the eval, it's like plus 0.6. What's the problem? The problem is that white's king is in the center of the board. It's a tough position to handle, okay? Because black is going to play a couple of solid moves, and you know, very well, the best move can be something like Queen G7 according to the computer, which is not very human. All right, it's not the best move right now. White's best move is to continue to consolidate the center and then play here. But, you know, Rapport chooses the slightly incorrect plan. And he goes for the bishop, and then he plays Rook B5, Rook D5. Now, the computer didn't like this, because after just the simple C6, white actually doesn't get anywhere. Rapport, I think here, I mean, I would have probably also played Knight B4, Knight F4. I make the same mistake in my own Blitz games. Like, I don't exactly know what the best plan here for white, and even though white has an advantage sometimes, it's a little hard to prove. And Rapport seemingly, I mean, Nodirbek, credit to him, played very well here to consolidate, you know, was very solid and was better. He took over the game and got it to a better endgame. And then he had to put the pressure, and Rapport tried to break out, and he was doing okay. He was actually doing a good job fighting back with D4 and Bishop F6. But it's hard to draw a rook endgame that's so scattered like this. Rook in 1 pawn versus rook in 0 is a draw in many cases, but Rapport just tried a little bit too aggressively with rook h6, and after rook a1 and rook c1 and all this, Nodirbek started, you know, being very aggressive with his b pawn. And there was basically one final moment here that Rapport could have tried to draw this, G and A versus H potentially, but he decided to do this, and the b pawn just runs off. And yeah, this is just losing. Just losing. Because, for instance, rook b8, just rook d7, and then b1 queen. Now, this is not necessarily a terrible advertisement for the Gotham repertoire. Games are won and lost beyond the opening, but this certainly is an example of why the Vienna is not played in classical chess at Super GM level. Doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't play it. You're still going to demolish people because they're not going to know 20 moves of theory. But even here, White was actually doing very well. I was like shocked. I was like, oh my god. Report played. I think you guys can let me know who have the e4 course in the comments where exactly it ends. I believe it ends somewhere here, I think, for newbies, and then bringing your knight out and then getting to these two squares. I've had a lot of games go like this, but nobody plays bishop e7. Like, you know, I have opponents play h6 and then blunder a knight or something, you know, or they play like bishop c3 and then I play knight e2 targeting this. It's a very back and forth game. I play h4 preventing g5, and it's very complicated. So Report played, you know, a little Gotham repertoire. Took the L, but, you know, that's how it is. We you know, you live and learn. And, yeah, remember this gentleman's name. He's going to be up here for a long time. And then, you know, the final game of the round I'd like to show you is between superstar from India, Gukesh, and Ding Liren. Ding Liren is potentially going to be the world champion in about 3 months. Unless the match doesn't happen. I made a video recently about why that's a concern. And, Ding Liren is the second highest rated chess player on earth, not named Magnus Carlsen, in classical chess. And now we have a Queen's Indian. This is very rare. Very rare to have a Queen's Indian at top level. Bishop a6. Very solid Queen's Indian. Don't worry about the move orders and the repeating moves and whatnot. Ding plays super solidly. And we have a C trade, C for E. Ding plays knight to f8, puts his knight on e6, and we have a bishop for knight exchange with e3. Now, this exchange very early already gives Ding very good possibility to do stuff on the queen side, because his bishop is just very strong, and he doesn't even wait. Knight c5. Knight c5 is looking to trade knights like this, and then play queen f6. Queen c2 from Gukesh. Now, an easy way to make a draw here is something like take, take. Opposite colored bishops, you know, trade a few pieces, make a draw. But we have d4 from Ding. We have take, take. And a few moves later, we have take, take. Now, that looks free. All right? It's not free if you take with a queen. Then I play bishop d3 and I win the game. Why do I win the game? Because if you take, then I take, and that's defended. And if you play rook takes d3, I have queen f2, and then I have rook e1 mate. Rook e1, take, and then mate. So, bishop c6 maybe might work, but instead of that, Gukesh goes here, and my man Ding Liren is like a beast at combining solid, good positional fundamentals. And when Ding needs to strike, that man is a killer. G5. Inviting the knight in and queen h6. And then c5. Look at these bishops. Oh my goodness. And then when you thought the attack ran out of steam, f5. Look at his last 3 moves. He got g5, c5, f5. All the pawns are useful. He knocks on the door, and Gukesh cannot take. He cannot take because the attack is simply too strong. He tries to get counterplay first and plays bishop e4, and Ding Liren will not stop all his pawns. f5, g5, b5, not yet, c5, h5. All Ding has to do is play b5. Okay, he's not going to play b5. h4, rook takes e4. Wait, folks. Ding Liren sacrifices the rook and wins in beautiful fashion with this unbelievable bishop to d3. Look at these bishops. X-raying the queen and the knight. You can't take because bishop f2 and I win your queen. Oh my goodness. A thunderous game from Ding Liren. g3. Oh, look at this king just being hunted. And he wins the game by basically weaving a mating net. Bishop f2 or gf2 and f1 queen. And Ding Liren has won his first game of Tata Steel 2023 in resounding fashion. Good to keep an eye on Ding. He's sharp. He is razor sharp right now. This is his highest rating ever, I think. And also Ding has like one of the highest ratings of all time now, and he's pushing up. So cool to see how much work he's done. Cheering for him in the event. Good to see he has no jet lag as well. He had some jet lag when he flew to Madrid. And Max Varmerdam, early submission for the damn game of the year. What the heck was that? That game just bounced all over the place. Chess.com servers have been super wonky recently. Anyway, 5 brilliant moves to start. Magnus a little bit slow, but he'll pick it up. Dingley Ren on fire. Boom! I'll see you for round number 2. Now get out of here.